There's a scripture in the Bible, it's 1 John 1:5. It says that God is light and that in him there is no darkness. I once thought that if God is light, then he can't go into dark places and that his presence can't go into those places. But I found that that's not the case. In my own story, it's kind of been like if there's a room and it's divided by a curtain and there's light in one side and dark in the other. If you were to raise that curtain, then light fills the dark room and not the other way around. When I was 6 years old, I had attended a church service and they gave an invitation to accept Christ. I've always been one to ask why and overanalyze everything, so I didn't go forward at that time, but that night I was tossing and turning in bed. I decided that I wanted to give my life to Christ. So I called my mom in and she prayed for me before bed, like she always did. And she led me in the sinner's prayer, and I accepted Christ that day. From that time on, I saw God do amazing things, and both in and through me. And as I got older, I started to be bullied in school. There's physical abuse as well as verbal abuse in the home. And all of these things that were causing me pain were from people who claimed to love God. And so that was really confusing for me. And I began to think, you know, if these are God's people, I don't really want to be like that. So I remember I told God, I was like, God, I love you, but I'm going to try this thing out on my own. And that led into all kinds of things, all sorts of sin and alcoholism. It led me into exploring my sexuality as well as to using drugs. And I just got really lost, felt really isolated and alone and more empty than I'd ever felt before. And I decided that what's the point? Like, why be alive? And so I had a bottle of pills on the counter that I was prepared to take. And I had this thought come into my head that wasn't my own. And it said, Blair, hold on, just wait, I love you. I recognized that thought to be God, and so I told him, I was like, I'll give you one more day, and I slid the pills to the side. The next day, my sister called, and she said, Blair, how you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm doing great, everything's good, you know, like giving the whole spiel. And then she goes, no, Blair, really, how are you doing? Because I get a sense that you're not doing very good, a sense that even you don't want to be here. And I broke right then and there, and I just started bawling, and I was like, yeah, I don't really want to be here. And she began just to tell me over and over again how much she loves me, and it just reminded me of the love of Jesus. And after that day, I prayed a prayer, and I was like, God, I want to walk with you, but if I walk with you, then I need a helper. I need somebody to walk alongside of me. And a month later, I started dating Morgan, who is now my wife. And she walked through the whole process with me of getting sober, of being clean, and just reminding me of my first love of Jesus. And everything started to change. It started to turn around for me. And there was never a moment that I was in those dark places where I didn't hear the voice of God or sense his presence. There was even times I was places that I shouldn't have been, and I felt him say, you need to get out of here, and I would get out. So I know now that God is light, and that he brings light into dark situations, and he just illuminates everything and changes everything. And I'm so grateful to have found Jesus, and just that he has brought light to my own life. That's my story.